Most people don't want you to fail loudly. They want you to fail quietly, so they can feel safe again. If you've ever sensed hostility without evidence, this is why. Some people experience your progress as a psychological threat, not because you harmed them, but because your movement exposes their stagnation, and the human mind defends identity before it defends truth. Psychology explains this with brutal clarity. Human beings constantly compare themselves to those around them, not consciously, automatically. Status, competence, momentum, relevance. Your rise forces an internal comparison they didn't choose. When that comparison makes them feel smaller, weaker, or behind, the brain doesn't say, "I need to improve." It says, "This person is dangerous." That's where hostility begins, not with anger, with insecurity. Your progress threatens their identity. If they once saw themselves as capable, smart, ahead, or superior, your success destabilizes that belief. And the ego reacts to destabilization the same way it reacts to danger. By resisting the source, they don't hate you as a person. They resent what your progress reveals about them. This is why encouragement changes when you start winning. Support turns keter. Energy feels different. The words are right, but the tone is wrong. Your intuition notices before your logic does. Psychology calls this a threat to identity response. When someone's self-image depends on being ahead of you, your growth becomes a direct attack on who they think they are. So they adapt, not openly, covertly. They smile while hoping you slow down. They offer advice that sounds reasonable but pulls you back towards safety. They frame doubt as concern. They frame fear as realism. And you feel confused because nothing is technically wrong, but something is off. That confusion is not imagination. It's pattern recognition without conscious language. Another layer deepens this behavior. Ego fragility. People with fragile egos cannot tolerate someone close to them outperforming them. Strangers succeeding doesn't hurt as much. Friends, peers, colleagues, siblings do. Proximity amplifies threat. Your success doesn't just show what's possible, it shows what they didn't do. And instead of confronting that discomfort, many people unconsciously try to restore balance by pulling you back down. Not aggressively, subtly. They downplay your wins. They redirect conversations away from your progress. They emphasize risks more than opportunities. They remember your failures more vividly than your growth. This is subconscious rivalry. They may not know they're competing with you, but their behavior does. And when rivalry exists without acknowledgement, it leaks out as passive sabotage. This is why some people seem strangely energized when you struggle, why they linger on your setbacks, why their interest spikes when things go wrong for you. It's not cruelty, it's relief. Your fall temporarily restores their internal hierarchy. Dominance hierarchy psychology explains this clearly. Human groups constantly adjust perceived rank. When someone rises unexpectedly, it creates instability. Others either rise with them or attempt to reassert dominance. If they can't rise, they restrain. This restraint is rarely direct. It looks like delayed responses, missed opportunities not shared, introductions never made, praise withheld, support conditional. They don't block you outright. They slow you, because slowing you doesn't expose their hostility, but it protects their position. Another pattern appears here: resentment conditioning. Over time, repeated exposure to your progress trains their nervous system to associate you with discomfort. Each update, each improvement, each win triggers a small internal loss. That loss compounds. Eventually, your presence alone creates irritation. Not because of what you do, but because of what you represent. This is why people go cold without explanation. Why energy shifts without conflict. Why relationships decay without argument. You didn't change. The comparison did. And when people can't reduce the gap internally, they try to reduce it externally. They question your choices. They frame ambition as arrogance. They warn you about burnout when you're finally focused. They advise caution when you're gaining momentum. It sounds helpful. It feels limiting. This is passive sabotage, not because they want to destroy you, but because they want the pressure to stop. They want equilibrium restored. Your mind senses this and starts doubting itself. You wonder if you're being paranoid. You question your instincts. You downplay your own perception to keep peace. That self-doubt is the real damage, because once you stop trusting your perception, you become manageable. This is why the most dangerous hostility is silent. It doesn't attack you, it confuses you, and confusion slows action more effectively than opposition. The solution is not confrontation. Confrontation gives them control over the narrative. It also confirms their fear that you are a threat. The solution is psychological distance and strategic silence. You stop feeding comparison. You stop broadcasting progress. You stop seeking validation from people invested in your stability, not your growth. You move without announcing direction. Silence removes friction. When people don't know where you're going, they can't pull you back. You also detach emotionally from their reactions, not by numbing yourself, by understanding them. Once you see their behavior as a defense mechanism, it loses emotional power. You stop personalizing resistance that was never about you. Another key defense is unpredictability. Predictable growth triggers anticipatory resistance. Unpredictable movement bypasses it. You let results speak late after momentum is irreversible. You also protect your inner state, because sabotage often succeeds through emotional contagion. Doubt spreads faster than failure, so you limit exposure. You curate proximity. You choose environments that reward growth instead of resenting it. You don't try to convince. You don't try to explain. You don't try to prove. Explanation invites interference. Quiet progress denies access. This is psychological dominance without aggression. The most powerful position is not being feared, it's being unreadable. People who secretly want you to fail rely on visibility, on access, on emotional reactions. When those disappear, their influence collapses. You don't need to defeat them. You simply stop participating in their internal conflict. And here is the final realization most people never reach. If someone needs you to stay small so they can feel whole, they were never aligned with your future. That doesn't make them evil, it makes them limited. And limits are contagious if you stay close. Awareness is not paranoia, it's clarity. Once you see the pattern, you stop fighting shadows. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop shrinking to preserve comfort. You move with precision. You share selectively. You rise quietly. And the people who wanted you to fail are left with only one option: to watch.